I give the call to the member for Higgins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Health and Aged Care. How is the Albanese Labor government strengthening Medicare after previous neglect? And how is the government delivering better health care for all Australians?
Call to the Minister for Health and Aged Care.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for her question and, along with members across the chamber, for attending the World AIDS Day breakfast with me this morning. I also want to thank her for her service on the front line as an infectious diseases physician in the darkest days of the pandemic down in Melbourne. Mr Speaker, in just 6 months, the Albanese government has hit the ground running to deliver better Medicare services for millions of Australians. We said we'd cut the price of medicines for millions of Australians, and we've delivered. On the 1st of January, we will deliver the largest cut to the price of medicines in the 75-year history of the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, putting $200 million every single year back into the pockets of hard-working Australians. In July, we slashed the maximum amount that pensioners and concession card holders would pay for their medicines by 25%. And in September, we cut the price of more than 2,000 brands of medicines, putting $130 million back into the pockets of Australian patients. And, Mr Speaker, since July, we've added 54 new and extended listings to the PBS. We said we'd expand access to constant glucose monitoring devices for all Australians living with type 1 diabetes, and, Mr Speaker, we delivered. We said we'd subsidise access to the next generation Omnipod insulin pumps, and, Mr Speaker, we delivered. Mr Speaker, we said we'd work to close the gap in First Nations health, and we've delivered 500 First Nations health workers, funding to combat rheumatic heart disease, and 34-chair dialysis units, all through the October budget. We expanded access to life-saving antivirals for COVID, particularly for over 70s, and eligibility for the 4th dose of the vaccine. And we were one of the few countries to secure doses of the 3rd-generation monkeypox virus. We said we'd crack down on cosmetic cowboys, and we've delivered. We said we'd make it easier to recruit GPs in our regions, and we've delivered. We said we'd address rural workforce shortages, and we delivered a $185 million rural workforce package in the budget in October. We said we'd fund comprehensive cancer centres in Perth and Adelaide and Brisbane, and we've delivered. We said we'd address gaps in hearing services for children in Tasmania and New South Wales, and, Mr Speaker, we've delivered. And yesterday, Mr Speaker, after 10 years of nothing happening, I announced this government's intention to make us a world leader again on tobacco control and to start the fight against vaping finally, Mr Speaker. There is still so much to do, Mr Speaker, but we are already delivering on our promise to strengthen Medicare and to cut the price of medicines.